a place where time was the ultimate service. Nothing here happened quickly, and no one apologized for it. There was no sense of urgency, no invisible clock pushing you forward, no polite pressure to optimize your stay. From the moment guests arrived, time loosened its grip, and that absence was intentional. This hotel was built around a radical idea that the most valuable thing it could offer was not comfort, privacy, or indulgence, but unclaimed time. Time without schedules, time without escalation, time that belonged entirely to the person experiencing it. To understand why this mattered, we have to look at what hospitality had become. Luxury hotels mastered efficiency, seamless check-ins, perfectly timed experiences, days segmented into curated moments designed to feel productive even while resting. Guests left relaxed, but somehow still tired. This place questioned that contradiction. The site was chosen for its resistance to speed. Remote, difficult to reach, unaffected by passing traffic or daily rhythms. There were no nearby attractions competing for attention, no reasons to rush through the stay. The environment itself discouraged haste. Design followed the same logic. Corridors were longer than necessary. Seating invited lingering. Views unfolded slowly, never all at once. Even arrival was deliberately unoptimized. Check-in took as long as it took. Nothing filled the pauses. At first, this unsettled guests. They looked for schedules, asked when things would happen, searched for signals telling them how to spend their day. The hotel provided none. There were no activity boards, no itineraries, no reminders. Time was not managed here. It was returned. Service adapted quietly around that philosophy. Staff did not anticipate needs in advance. They responded only when invited. Meals were prepared when guests arrived, not when clocks demanded. Nothing nudged, prompted, or hurried. This created a strange tension. Without structure, some guests fell adrift. Accustomed to being guided, they experienced discomfort in the openness. The hotel did not intervene. It trusted that time, when unclaimed, would reorganize itself. And slowly, something profound began to happen. Guests stopped asking what came next. They stopped checking watches. They began noticing how long it had been since they felt unhurried at all. But building an experience around time carried a serious risk. If nothing was scheduled, nothing could be guaranteed. Comfort depended on patience. Satisfaction depended on surrender. And that raised a question the team could not answer in advance. Would people pay for a place that refused to give them anything, except time itself? The first days revealed how deeply people had internalized urgency. Guests filled the empty hours reflexively, checking devices, planning activities, inventing structure where none existed. Without guidance, they tried to manage time the way they always had. It didn't work. The hotel did not reward efficiency. Arriving early changed nothing. Asking for what came next produced no answers. Time here could not be optimized, only inhabited. And that realization created friction. Some guests grew restless. They felt unproductive, even anxious. Accustomed to measuring days by accomplishment, they struggled with the idea that nothing needed to be achieved. The hotel did not reassure them. It allowed the discomfort to surface fully. Then, something shifted. On the second or third day, habits began to loosen. Meals extended without intention. Walks ended without destination. Sleep arrived earlier, deeper without alarms. Guests stopped organizing time and began noticing it instead. Service reinforced this transition quietly. There were no wake-up calls unless requested. No reminders. No subtle prompts to move along. Staff appeared when guests reached out, then vanished again. The absence of scheduling became a form of care. Conflict emerged when some guests interpreted this as neglect. Reviews questioned whether the hotel was disengaged. Why wasn't more being offered? Why wasn't time filled with value? The team understood the risk. In a market that equated service with constant attention, stepping back could be misunderstood as indifference. They did not correct it. Instead, they observed a deeper pattern. Guests who stayed longer stopped using the word board. They described feeling present. They spoke of time stretching, not dragging, of days feeling full without being busy. The hotel had uncovered an uncomfortable truth. People did not know what to do with time, when it was truly theirs. And yet, once they stopped trying to control it, time became generous, spacious, almost protective. Guests left with a sense they couldn't quite articulate. Not refreshed in the usual way, but reordered. But this raised the central conflict of the entire experiment. If time itself was a service, then what happened when guests returned to a world that constantly demanded it back? Could the hotel offer something so fragile and expect it to endure beyond the stay? That fragility became visible at the edges of each stay. As departure approached, guests felt the weight of return gathering quietly. Calendars reappeared. Messages accumulated. The outside world waited, impatient and unchanged. And yet, something had shifted. Guests did not rush to fill their final hours. There was no frantic attempt to extract value before leaving. Instead, they lingered in stillness, as if practicing a different relationship with time before letting it go. The hotel had not given them more hours. It had changed how hours felt. The emotional buildup emerged through contrast. Stepping outside the hotel's rhythm felt abrupt, almost jarring. Airports felt aggressive. Schedules felt loud. Many guests described a strange grief, not for the place itself, but for the quality of time they were about to lose. This revealed the hotel's deepest impact. It had exposed how thoroughly modern life fragments attention, how rarely time is allowed to exist without purpose. The hotel did not fix that reality. It simply showed another possibility. The conflict intensified internally for the team. Should they help guests carry the experience forward, offer techniques, guidance, practices to preserve unclaimed time after departure? Each suggestion risked turning time into another productivity tool, something to manage, optimize, and defend. They chose not to intervene. The hotel was not there to train better time managers. It was there to demonstrate that time, when left alone, reorganizes itself naturally. The lesson could not be packaged without being compromised. Guests who returned months later offered the clearest insight. They spoke less about what they remembered and more about what they noticed afterward. Moments of pause reclaimed, evenings left unfilled, a growing resistance to urgency they had once accepted as normal. The hotel had not changed their schedules. It had changed their tolerance for speed. This realization marked the emotional peak of the story. Time, once treated as a resource to be spent efficiently, had revealed itself as a condition of presence. When nothing demanded it, it became restorative on its own. But one final question remained. If time was the ultimate service, could the hotel continue offering it without turning it into yet another luxury commodity? The answer lay in refusal. As interest in the hotel grew, pressure followed. Media attention, feature requests, proposals to formalize the experience of time into branded programs and premium offerings. Each promised scale, clarity, and profit. Each threatened to turn time back into something to be consumed. The hotel declined them all. This decision marked the true climax of its story. By refusing to package time, the hotel preserved it. There were no schedules introduced, no signature rituals, no promises of transformation. Time remained unclaimed, undefined, and therefore intact. Guests continued to arrive, uncertain at first, then quietly changed. They learned not because they were taught, but because the space allowed them to feel the difference. The hotel did not compete with the world's speed. It stepped aside from it. Over the years, the place earned an unusual reputation, not as a destination, but as a reset. People spoke of it as somewhere they remembered how to be unhurried, where days were not filled, but held, where presence returned without effort. The resolution became clear through absence. By offering nothing but time, the hotel gave guests something increasingly rare: permission to stop measuring their lives in output. It did not promise escape. It offered contrast, a brief but powerful reminder that life does not accelerate by necessity, but by habit. When guests left, time followed them differently, not slower, but less demanding, less insistent, less owned by urgency. And that is a legacy of a place where time was the ultimate service. In a world obsessed with efficiency, this hotel proved that the most generous thing you can offer someone is not more, but less. Less pressure, less direction, less demand. Sometimes the greatest luxury is simply being allowed to exist without a clock watching you. So what do you think? Are we repeating the same mistake again? A